So hello and welcome to our Jira Service Management for ITSM webinar. We are so glad you're able to join us today for this overview of how to manage your ITSM processes within Jira Service Management. I'm Brad Wood. I'm a consultant and Atlassian Certified Professional with Valiantys, a Platinum Solutions partner with Atlassian. And today I'm going to walk you through Jira Service Management to highlight many of its strengths and capabilities related to ITSM processes. So this webinar does build upon our Jira Service Management Fundamentals webinar, which we did hold last week. And if you're able to join us for that webinar, I hope you got some great fundamental knowledge of JSM. And that webinar, along with this one, will be posted to our Valiantys in North America YouTube channel for those who weren't able to join or for those who may want to watch either of these again at a later time. And this webinar is going to be a bit more advanced than the fundamentals webinar, and we'll focus on the ITSM feature set within Jira Service Management. These webinars really do go hand in hand to paint a complete picture of the powerful features that are available within JSM. It is helpful to have a basic understanding and some experience with JSM to get the most out of this webinar, but it is by no means required and won't inhibit the learning process here this afternoon. And some of those topics we discussed in that fundamentals webinar are on this slide here. We won't go through those line by line, but if you are interested in that, like I say, please feel free to check that out on our YouTube page. But for now, let's move on to the topics for this webinar. So like I mentioned, this is Jira Service Management for ITSM, and we are going to talk through some of the applications that will be used in order to showcase that full range of ITSM capabilities in JSM. The first one being Assets, which is Jira Service Management's Assets and Configuration Management tool. Assets is native to JSM. It's not an add-on, but it is only available with JSM Cloud Premium or Enterprise and the JSM Data Center. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about Opsgenie, which is the alert and incident management system. This is native with JSM Cloud Premium. It is a separate product for Data Center. Automation for Jira. If you are already working in the Atlassian ecosystem in some capacity, you are no doubt familiar with using and maybe even configuring automation rules. This is completely out of the box with all the different tiers of Jira Service Management. The only difference between the tiers is the number of allotted rule executions per month that you have with those tiers. And then lastly, Statuspage. This is a completely separate product. It's not included in any tier of JSM. It is an Atlassian product, but it is an add-on. And Statuspage is an internal and external communication solution, and we'll talk about that in detail towards the end of the webinar. And Atlassian themselves actually use Statuspage to communicate status updates to products in their ecosystem. So you can check that out if you'd like to see how they are using this tool themselves. All right, so we're going to do 3 different demos this morning. The first one is related to service management. We do cover that a bit in that JSM Fundamentals webinar, but today we're going to look at how to integrate assets into your service management process. We will secondly talk about incident management, and we're going to cover how JSM handles incident management, giving your service desk team the tools they need to respond to incidents in a timely and effective manner. And we'll discuss a little bit about problem management in that section. And then lastly, we're going to talk about change management, and we'll discuss how JSM can help manage changes within your organization, giving insight into the effects and even possible risks of enacting changes, and provide the insight you need to make informed decisions related to changes. We'll also touch on knowledge management and enterprise service management during this section. Just a quick plug about Valiantys. We are a Platinum Solutions partner of Atlassian, and we provide a number of different services based around Atlassian products, including solutions, consulting, licensing, and training. We also work with a full stack software development company that creates custom solutions for Atlassian products through avenues such as app development and API integrations. We offer consulting and licensing services across the entire Atlassian suite of products, for organizations of all shapes and sizes, anywhere in the world and for any platform. And at Valiantys, we have the culture and the mindset to make Atlassian products work for you due to our cutting edge curiosity, our commitment to value, and our customer centric approach. We are invested in your success and engaged with your strategic goals. And one other quick note before we jump into Jira Service Management on the training front, we do offer a 2-day Jira Service Management Bootcamp. This bootcamp, like I said, is 2 days. It's a deep dive into configuring and administering Jira Service Management. It goes over many of the topics that we're going to discuss this morning. And our next one is coming up on July 16th. So if you're interested in that bootcamp, please visit valiantys.com/events for all of those details. And I believe that information will be in the chat as well. All right, so let's jump into our first demo, and we are going to discuss asset and service management. So who is this section for? Well, we're really going to look at this through the lens of our service teams or our IT teams. The challenge we see a lot of service teams or IT teams face with is how to easily track and manage their assets, as well as services and service requests related to those assets. So our solution is going to be assets and JSM and easy to manage, easy to maintain assets database that seamlessly integrates with our ticketing system. And the tools we'll be using in this demo are Jira Service Management, of course, assets, and automation. And so with that, I'm going to jump over to Jira Service Management. Here we are in the Help Center. And just a quick refresher on this, it's our customer-facing section of JSM in which our customers can submit requests and tickets for a wide variety of needs. We're not going to go into the Help Center in extensive detail this morning, but we do cover that in that Fundamentals webinar, again, available on YouTube if you'd like to check that out. I'm going to go into our IT Service Desk portal, then I'm going to go to our Computers portal group, and then I'm going to click on the Request a New Laptop request type. And now as a customer, I am able to submit this request type so we can see several different fields that I need to fill out in order to submit this request. By clicking the field reason for requesting new laptop, I'll say current equipment is damaged. In this section, I'll just say I dropped my laptop and it no longer works. And then lastly, I need to select a model that I would like. So I'll click in here. And this drop-down field does look a little bit different than the other drop-down field I showed, and we'll look at this on the back end, but this is connected to our assets database. So I will choose this MacBook Pro 16-inch. And when I select one of these, I'm actually selecting a specific object that's built into our assets database. We're going to look at that here in just a little bit, but that's why that field looks a little bit different, and there's some more customization options to that field. For example, we can see these icons that would not be available in another drop-down type field. So now that I've got my ticket filled out, I will submit this. And we can see here, once I've submitted the ticket, this is sort of the customer-facing view of that submitted ticket. And we can see all of that information that I entered in that ticket when I submitted it. So the reason that I need a new laptop, the additional details that I provided, and then lastly, that model number. Some other information we can see here. This request is waiting for approval, and we're going to talk about that and how that is configured here in just a moment. And I have some other options. I could cancel this request. I could share it with some other people. I could add comments to our agents, etc. And that's just a quick overview of that customer-facing ticket. And if you'd like to know more about that, check out that Fundamentals webinar that I mentioned previously. So now let's go into the back end of JSM and let's look at how some of this is configured and how it's working. And so I mentioned that that laptop that I selected was connected to a specific object built out in assets. And we can see the asset field here. So laptop models, we see that same icon, we see the model name that I selected, and this is an assets type field in JSM. And as an agent, I'm able to expand this field and see some more details on this specific object. And these are attributes that are configured on our laptop, and we'll look at those in the assets database here shortly. But as an agent, I'm able to view all this information. So much more information than the customer is able to see. So I can see the name, the vendor, the screen size, some information on the CPU and some other components. We also see a status on this object as well. So you are able to configure statuses on your objects. This status in this case has automatically been set via an automation rule that we've set up, and it's intended to provide visibility into the status of that object. And that status will be reflected in the assets database as well. And the idea here is that since this is a specific laptop, updating that status will prevent it from being either offered or deployed to another employee. Right now it's offered to me, and that's going to prevent it from being deployed to another employee. And this also means that there is one less of these MacBook Pro 16 inches in the in-stock status in our database. And so there's a lot of cool configuration options you can do to manage your inventory using assets. If we go over to the details section in this ticket, we can see another asset object field has been added. It's called affected equipment. And if we expand this field, this is my current laptop. This is the one that's currently deployed to me. And expanding that field, we can see some more information. We can see some of the same information that's displayed over here in laptop models. And we can see the status on this has been updated to damaged. So because I've submitted this ticket for a new laptop and I said my current equipment is damaged, automation has gone into the assets database and updated the status on this particular object. And so now this is damaged, and that will be reflected in our database as well. And the idea here also is to provide our agents who are working on this ticket quick and easy access to gather all the information they need on this damaged laptop. And it also saves us time by automatically updating that status, which again was powered through automation. Lastly, let's talk about the approvals section on this ticket. We can see in the approvers field that Vicki Murphy was set as the approver of this ticket. This is also related to assets and automation. So our employees in this instance are all built out as objects in the assets section of JSM, and each employee is linked to a department and then a manager via what assets calls references. And in this case, Vicki is my manager, so she has been added as the approver of this laptop request. And if we click on waiting for one approval, we'll see that we are waiting for Vicki to approve my laptop request. And so again, that is all powered through assets and automation as well. And for some quick insight, I mentioned references. Those are essentially just connections between two objects in JSM assets, and we'll look at how those are displayed and configured here in just a section, just a second when we go into our assets database. And so if I want to navigate there, I will just click on assets. And this is kind of the home page of the assets, and this is where all of our objects, the attributes of those objects, and the references between our objects are configured. Assets is a very scalable and robust tool, and it can be configured in a variety of ways. And so this morning, this is just one example of how you might want to configure your assets database, but it's by no means the only way to do it. Like I mentioned, very scalable and lots of different options in how you configure your assets database. And so here we see object schemas, and object schemas are essentially collections of types of objects. And so we see several different object schemas here. And for example, if I click in the IT employee assets schema. This contains all the different object types that we have created and that can be assigned to an individual employee. So we can see different types of hardware, we see some metadata, object types, etc. So I'll go into the hardware section and click on laptop. And for example, we can click on this last object here. And this is my current laptop. This is the actual object that we saw referenced on the ticket earlier in this demo. And we can see here, the status is an attribute that has been updated via automation. And we can see all those other attributes here. So some of these were displayed in that assets object field. Some of them are not. That is another configuration choice you can make when setting up those fields. You can show as many or as few attributes in that field as will be useful and relevant to your agents. And down here at the bottom, we can see owner is me, and I am actually an object in this database. So also on our object type, we can see some linked objects here. I mentioned the references, and that's what these are. So we can see several outbound references. We can see that this particular laptop is this model type. It's located in St. Louis, and it's owned by me. And then we also have linked issues here. And so any issue that has this particular object selected in an assets object field will appear in this section. You do have some filtering options here as well. So you can apply a JQL filter here. You can filter by summary and description. So if this list gets very long and hard to navigate, you can filter those tickets as well. All right, so let's go back to our object schemas. We're going to look at the employees schema. And in this section, we have an example of an internal org chart built out. So let's take a look at how that's configured. And we can see we've got an object type here called employee, and then we've got all of our individual employees listed here in this section. And on each individual employee, so me, for example, we can see all the different attributes associated to that employee. And those are all created and maintained via this attributes tab. So if you do want to add an attribute, or maybe you don't need one anymore, you can remove them in this area. And there are several different attribute types, as we can see here. So there's user attribute types, there's object attribute types, and then you can have different types of values, different types of links, etc. So a lot of configuration options there within your attributes. So let's look at some of the attributes on myself. So we can see my name, we can see I'm an active employee. This is a link to my Atlassian user account, so it's linked directly to there. We can see my location, and again, these are all different object attributes. So I'm related to this object and this HR object, my manager, and an assignment group. And we can see all of those again in this linked objects section. And then here we see that laptop. So that laptop is assigned to me currently, so I have an inbound reference from my laptop, and it is displayed on my object type. And then lastly, there is another way to view all of these object links, and we can click on the object graph. And this is just a visual representation of what we were just talking through. So all of those inbound and outbound references we can see here. Again, I'm linked to my manager, my laptop is linked to me, and so on and so forth. And there's some other information that you can grab here as well, some linked issues. I don't currently have any. You can click on any of these linked objects if you need to investigate those any further. So this can be a nice visual representation of everything your object is related to, either by an inbound or an outbound reference. So a lot of good, a lot of good organizational and kind of structure options within assets, and you can use those in conjunction with your requests from JSM to really create a complete picture of your different objects and items in your inventory, that kind of thing. So that's going to wrap up our service and asset management demo here. We are going to go back to our service desk project. And I'm just going to open up the portal again very quickly. All right. So our next section is going to be on incident management. And who's this for? Well, it's our IT operations team or department. The challenge that we see for this group is how to respond quickly to incidents to get things back on track and ensure proper follow-up on those incidents. So our solution is a centrally managed alerting system, tracking of deployments and service relationships, an incident command center, and integrated communications. And that solution is going to use Jira Service Management, Opsgenie, Statuspage, and even Confluence. So a lot of different tools working together to help us manage our incidents. I will go back to the portal. And this time I'm going to go to servers and infrastructure. And I'll select report a system problem. And the problem I'm going to submit is that our website is down. And I'll just provide some additional information. We've got some other fields here. We don't need to fill these out for now. They are not required fields, but you can add as many or as few fields on your request types as you need to be able to capture the correct information from your customers, especially on incidents. That can be very, very useful. And then one other thing I want to note here is when I typed in website to the summarize the problem field here, Jira Service Management is serving up some suggested articles. These articles are stored in our knowledge base, which is powered by Confluence, and they are intended to promote ticket deflection. So these articles are linked to this request type and they are populating via keywords. So for example, we can see down is highlighted in bold. We can see website is highlighted in bold. And so these are pulling articles that either mention website or something being down. And again, the idea here is to help our customers solve their own problems and provide more insight into what they're experiencing via these related articles. And so in this case, I'm going to say that these articles are not helping me. So I'm going to go through and submit this request. Another thing to note quickly is affected services. This is another example of an assets object field, and it's unique in that it does not require JSM Premium to be able to use this functionality. So if you are on a standard plan, you're able to use affected services as well. You do need to just turn on the incident management feature in your project. And this one is also a multi-select field. So in our previous demo, our laptop object field was just a single select field, but you do have the ability to have multi-select fields here as well. So I will go ahead and submit this ticket. And this is very familiar. We won't talk through this again, but I do want to note this status update here. So website is down, and this is a link to Statuspage, which we mentioned before, which is sort of an internal and external status communication tool that Atlassian provides. Again, it is not part of Jira Service Management, but you can use it in conjunction with it. And so this is just an example of what that might look like. So we've got all these different services here, and they show their different statuses. We can see that the team is currently investigating the website being down. So that is very prominent up here at the top in our status page site. So this can be really useful as well to give your customers a quick view and communicate to them that, hey, we know there's a problem, we know there's an incident going on, and we are actively working on it. So that's helpful to include out here on the portal as well. So now let's look at this from the agent point of view. So as an agent, our goal is to find the cause of this outage as quickly and effectively as possible in order to resolve the incident in a timely manner. So I need to add a service here, actually. I'm going to add website in the affected services field. And I'm going to give this a quick refresh as well. All right, so if we expand the affected services field, we can see some information on this. We have some of those attributes we discussed earlier. We can see that this is a tier 1 service, and this is going to play a big part in our change management demo, which is coming up here shortly. We also see there's 21 open incidents on this service. So the idea here is to paint a comprehensive picture of all of the incidents or all the tickets that are open on this service, and give your agents some more insight into other incidents that are at play that are affecting this website, and ultimately helping lead to a resolution on this incident much quicker, and all of the related incidents as well. So maybe a team's already working on this, and you can eliminate some redundant work this way. So there's a lot of powerful insight by seeing all of these open tickets on this affected service. If we scroll down a little bit, we can also see changes on affected service. So if I open this a little bit, we can see all of these different change tickets that have occurred recently related to this affected service, which in this case is our website. This is powered by including that affected services asset object field on not just our incident requests, but also change requests. And the goal here is to gain insight to any changes that may be happening currently, which could explain the cause of our incident, or maybe a change that has already occurred and been implemented that maybe caused this incident to occur. So maybe in this case, for example, maybe there's an active change on the website which has caused it to be inaccessible for a short period of time. If we scroll to the top, we also have this investigate button. And this connects to Bitbucket, which is our CI/CD pipeline solution from Atlassian. And this is going to show any recent code deployments that are related to this service, which again is our website. These deployments can give us more insight as well into the incident request that was submitted, and could be the possible cause for our incident. If we hover over this, we can we see this button select as potential cause. And if I click this, then I could click add potential causes, and this would be logged on our incident ticket, again, giving more information to agents working on this ticket that, hey, this code deployment happened recently. Perhaps this is the reason that the website is down. And so we could investigate that code deployment and determine whether or not that is the cause of this incident. And we'll cover Bitbucket a little bit more in our change management demo coming up soon. If I scroll down to the bottom in our activity section, if you've worked in JSM at all, you may notice there is an extra button here that says inform stakeholders. And stakeholders is a feature that is part of the advanced ITSM feature set in JSM. And stakeholders would include individuals who need to be aware of an incident, but aren't necessarily going to be actively working on an incident. So people who need to be in the loop, but aren't going to be working the ticket in the tool itself. And using this function will send an email to both the incident responders of the affected service and anyone who has been added to the stakeholder list. So an extra option there for incident management within these within the ITSM feature set. If we look over here in our details section, we also see this major incident toggle, and enabling this will add this ticket to a queue called major incidents, which can help give some more urgency to that particular ticket. So if this is a major major problem for our organization, we can use this functionality and bring more awareness to this ticket and get our best people working on this as quickly as possible. That queue may not already be set up in your JSM project, but you can create a queue using that same process that we covered in our fundamentals webinar and tell that queue to look for major incidents. And that's really the out-of-the-box functionality of the major incident toggle, but there are many opportunities to enhance it utilizing automation, notifications, etc. So I've seen automations where as soon as this toggle is enabled, it'll send an email to a select group of individuals letting them know that, hey, we have a major incident on our hands and we need to work on this as soon as possible. All right, so let's say that this incident has now been resolved and we're ready to close out our ticket. We can head to the top and click Add PIR. And this pulls up a new create screen for the post-incident review issue type, which we can see right here. It is its own individual issue type. And we can fill out this post-incident review directly from this window. And that will create a new ticket, which will be this PIR incident type. And the idea here is to provide some context and additional information as to what happened on this ticket, how did we resolve it, etc. So let me grab a quick link and I will show an example of one of these PIR tickets that has already been submitted. And there's some helpful information that will be displayed on your PIR ticket once it's submitted. We can see the primary incident here, so we see that it's linked to this incident ticket. So it will create a link between your PIR and the incident from which it was created. We can also click on timeline on this incident, and we can get a summary of all of the activity that's occurred on that incident ticket. So rather than having to click into that ticket or open it in a separate window, we can view this directly from our PIR, which can come in handy. We also have a section over here on the right side called Incident Summary that also summarizes all of that activity that occurred on that incident. So we can see when the incident was created. We can see it has not ended yet. It is an ongoing incident. There is some SLA information here, so time for resolution, which is empty. We can see the assignee, the priority, who's working on this ticket, and which of our affected services does this incident affect. So this can be really helpful in your PIR ticket as well. Again, to review what happened, what was affected, who worked on this, how long did that ticket or that incident take to be resolved, etc. So a lot of good information there. Let's go back to the incident ticket that I submitted, and we'll review just a couple more of the features related to incident management. We see, there it is, our conference call feature. So if I was to click Start Call, this would create a conference call that is joinable throughout the lifespan of the ticket, and that's powered through Opsgenie, like I mentioned, which is included in JSM Premium. Atlassian is in the process of integrating Opsgenie directly into JSM. It will soon be known as Operations, but for now, it does exist in its sort of own space known as Opsgenie. And if I started this conference call, any agent will be able to join that call directly from the ticket and utilize video conferencing, chat, add notes, add responders to the call, etc. There's some other communication options here. We can connect Slack, and we can even connect Microsoft Teams or Zoom. So you have a lot of different communication channel options on your incident tickets. And then we see here responders. Responders are actually built out via Opsgenie, and we're going to transition to Opsgenie now. I can go up here to the top, and I will find Opsgenie. And let's take a look at how this works. So like I mentioned previously, Opsgenie is Atlassian's uh, incident alerting and response tool, and it connects JSM with your other monitoring tools as well. So there's a lot of powerful features within here. Alerts that are created in JSM can, alerts created within Opsgenie can become issues in JSM and vice versa. So you can connect the two tools. And so here's kind of the alert page, and we can see all these different alerts that have been created and their priority level, which team these associated with, etc. And if I click on the Teams tab, this is where we are able to build out a lot of those powerful monitoring configurations. So our routing rules, our escalation policies, our on-call schedules, etc. So we can see all of that information here. We can see which type of alerts are going to be routed to this team. We have an escalation policy that says if something hasn't happened in X amount of time, notify X person, and then we can see the on-call schedules that have been built out here. And so these are fully customizable, and you can add many members to your team and put certain people on call at certain times. On the left-hand side here in our integration section, Opsgenie is really only as powerful as the integrations that have been configured, and all of our major services are able to be used to create integrations. So if I click add integration, we can see we can integrate it with all these different Atlassian products. And then there's just a huge list of out of the box integrations available. So more than likely your monitoring service is listed here. And if not, there may be an opportunity to use API calls to connect to your monitoring tool. And then lastly, I'll talk about heartbeats very quickly. Heartbeats are a way to ping a service at a specific interval, and you can configure these to create alerts in Opsgenie if a ping is not received back in a certain amount of time. So let's say you're pinging a server, for instance, and if you don't get a ping back in however many minutes or however long you decide, you can create an alert, route it to that team, and they know, hey, there may be a problem with this service. We need to go investigate this, and that is all powered here through Opsgenie. So that is going to wrap it up for incident management and alert monitoring. We are going to move into the final portion of this webinar, which is change management. And this section is really catered towards our change managers and developers. Our challenge is how do we manage risk, coordinate our changes, and ease bureaucratic effort? The solution is going to be an automated risk assessment, automated ticket creation, and automated resolutions. And our tools here are going to be JSM, Bitbucket, and again, automation for Jira. And so we're going to show how JSM, Bitbucket, automation, and even Jira software can all be connected and utilized together to help us manage our change management process. I'm going to start by going to a Jira software project. And I'm just going to create a quick ticket. And I'm going to say add Bureau to payroll system. And I'm going to spell system correctly. And then I don't have any of the required fields here. So I am going to submit this ticket. And because this is a Jira software project, we're not able to leverage the use of the portal, request types, forms, etc. But we'll see how this is going to relate back to Jira Service Management here shortly. I just need to find my ticket very quickly. And here it is. Okay, so here's the ticket I just created, and basically we're asking our development team to add the euro to our payroll system. So we are going to go over to Bitbucket and do just that. Let me open up Bitbucket. And again, this is our Atlassian CI/CD pipeline solution. I'll go into Bitbucket and I'm going to click into my payroll repository. And for the sake of the demo, we're just going to update this README file. So I will edit this file. And I'll just make a quick change to this file. Say Brad Wood. And then I'll click commit. And then before I commit changes, I am going to add a commit message. I'm going to say updating per SSP 119, which is the key of the ticket I just submitted. And we do recommend adding some kind of commit message when you are making changes to your code in your code repositories. I'll click commit. And then we'll go to the pipelines. And we're going to give this just a second to make this change. And while we're waiting for that, I do want to remind everybody, and I forgot to do this at the beginning, we do have a Q&A section. So if you do have any questions, feel free to drop those there. And if time allows, I will answer those before we wrap up this morning, or otherwise, you can reach out to me via email or LinkedIn and ask those questions there. I would be happy to answer them at a later time. All right, so we'll give this change just a minute or two to commit. All right. We can see now the status of this change is successful, and here's that commit message that I added when I made this change. So now we go back to our software ticket and I refresh. We can see some things have changed. We can see that there is one commit in the development field. If I hover over this, I can see that commit, when it was made, and the repository that it was made in. We can also see that there is a new linked issue here. So this issue, which is a change, was created automatically when the code was deployed. Again, it's a change request over in Jira Service Management, and we can see that it was already completed as well. And so I can open this change ticket up. And it may seem odd to you that a change request was created and completed without going through any kind of CAB approval or any approval at all. But in this case, it's because we made that change on the payroll system, which we see here in the affected services field. And I mentioned the tiers earlier. So our payroll system is a tier 3 service, and we are not requiring CAB's approval on our tier 3 services. And the idea here is to create efficiencies by automating processes and steps to deploy this particular change without requiring a lengthy approval process. This is a tier 3 service. It's not as impactful as a tier 1 service, let's say, so we don't need to go through that approval process for this change. So once that change was deployed in Bitbucket, the JSM change request ticket was automatically created, transitioned to completed, and linked to our original software ticket. And all of that information is included in the JSM ticket as well. So our affected service, we should see that ticket linked here. We do. And so automation is really saving us a lot of time on this kind of routine change that doesn't necessarily require approvals and can just kind of business as usual. If somebody requests the change, let's make the change and then document all of that change and all of that activity within both Jira software and JSM and Bitbucket. So a lot of opportunities for efficiencies there. Let's do another similar demo, but this time we are going to look at what happens with a tier 1 service. So I'll create another story for our development team, and I'll say mobile app update, and I'll spell it correctly. And we will create this ticket. Let's open that quickly. And so now our development team knows that there is an update needed to the mobile app. So we're going to go back to Bitbucket, and we'll go back to our repositories. We'll find the mobile app. And we're going to do the same thing. We'll just go to this document and we will edit it. And I'll just put somebody else's name here. And we'll click commit. And then exactly like we did before, we'll say updating per, and that is SSP 120 is the issue key of the request, which is why we are making this change. So we'll click commit. We'll head over to our pipeline. And we'll give this just a second for the status to update. Okay, and so we can see here that this has been paused or halted. And if I actually click into this commit, we can see some information here. We see change request pending. A change request is pending for this deployment. When the change request is complete, the deployment will automatically resume. And so let's look at how that happens. So I'm going to go back to my software ticket and I am going to refresh. And we can see similarly to our previous example, a change request ticket was created over in Jira Service Management and it was linked to this software request. However, this one is not completed. It's in the authorized status. So let's look at why that is happening. I'll open our change ticket. And we can see that the mobile app has been set in the affected services field. And this is what is causing this to be in this approval status. We can see that this is a tier 1 service. And so our tier 1 services are configured to require CAB approval. It's different than our previous example, which was a tier 3 service. This one is a tier 1, and therefore we need some kind of approval. And so we can see up here, this request requires your approval. Down here in the approvers section, we can see that everybody in our CAB group has been assigned as an approver. And we can go here waiting for approval and see all of the different people that we are waiting on to somebody to approve this ticket. So in this scenario, I'm an approver. So I'm just going to approve this ticket. And now it is in the awaiting implementation status. If I refresh this ticket, Now, like I said, we're in the awaiting implementation status, and I can transition this to implementing. So the change has been approved. We're ready to implement this change. Let's go ahead and do that. So now it's in the implementing status. And if I go back to Bitbucket, we can see this is automatically updated. So this commit is now running. So once that change uh, that's related to your commit is approved and is in the implementing status, automation has restarted this commit. And if we go back to the pipeline, or we can just wait for it here, we can see that commit actually run, and we can see that it has been deployed. So again, that's a powerful way to link Jira software, Jira Service Management, Bitbucket, and automation. Now that this has been been implemented, if we go back to our change ticket, we can see that automation has once again updated the status of this ticket. It is now completed. The resolution was set to done, and we should see that reflected on our original ticket as well. And we do. We can see that that change has been completed. So again, some time-saving opportunities there via automation and ways to link all of your different tools. So your CI/CD pipeline, your change requests via Jira Service Management, and then your software development team that's working in Jira software. All these tools can be combined together to really help manage that change management process, whether it's on a tier 3 service that maybe doesn't require approvals, or your more impactful tier 1 services that do need to go through an approval process. You can set up different processes to manage those different types of change. And again, keep a record of all of those changes. This information is stored in several different places throughout these different tools. And so there's a lot of opportunity to leverage these tools to really help you manage your change management process. All right, so we've got a little bit of time left. And one of the other things we like to cover in our demos is relatively new in the Atlassian world. It's Atlassian Intelligence. And so this is Atlassian's AI solution. And I can just go through a couple quick examples of that. Um, there are a lot of different opportunities to leverage Atlassian Intelligence, and I'll just open a ticket and we can look at a couple of those right now. So one way we can do this is in our comments section. We can, let's say I'm the agent working on this ticket, and the customer hasn't given me enough information to be able to service their request effectively. I can type the comment and I'll say, so maybe I'm not having a good day, and maybe I've typed something out that's a little rude or a little short. I can highlight this comment and I can click this writing assistant. And this is powered by Atlassian Intelligence. So I have a lot of different options here. I could maybe somebody's typed a very long comment. I could summarize that. I can improve my writing. I can fix spelling and grammar. I can shorten my comment if it's too long, for instance. But then the really cool stuff here is changing your tone. You can change tone to professional, empathetic, casual, neutral, educational. There's a lot of options here. And so I'll just choose change tone to professional. And then we can see that Atlassian is now, Atlassian Intelligence is getting us a suggestion on how to rewrite our comment. So what I wrote was not very professional, and we can change that to be professional before we submit this comment to our customer. So we can see here, please provide additional information so that I can assist you effectively. And I think that sounds a lot more professional. So I can insert that into my comment, or I can simply replace it. And so I think in this case, I will replace this. So now we can see that that AI generated comment is now in the comment field, and then all I have to do is simply click save, and then now that's added as a comment to the customer. And so that's one really great way to use Atlassian Intelligence as an agent in JSM, helping you rewrite those comments and even summarizing the comments. Maybe, like I mentioned before, maybe you got a very long explanation from a customer on a situation they're experiencing, and you'd like a summary. Atlassian Intelligence can do that for you. So that's just one example of Atlassian Intelligence. There are a lot more capabilities and ways to use this tool. We do cover those in several videos on our YouTube page as well. So again, feel free to check that out and learn more about Atlassian Intelligence. All right, we are coming up on the top of the hour, so we are going to go ahead and close things out. Again, if you do have additional questions on the topics that were covered in this webinar or anything else in the Atlassian ecosystem, please feel free to reach out to me directly via LinkedIn or email. That information has been included in the chat. It'll be included in the description of this video as well. Or feel free to just scan this QR code, and that will take you over to our Valiantys events and training page. We will have all of our events listed there. So our boot camps, which we have several of those. We have a Jira Bootcamp, Confluence, Jira Service Management, etc. Lots of different learning opportunities there, and other classes on other topics are available as well. So feel free to jump over there and view all of that information. And that is going to do it for this morning. Again, thanks to everybody who is able to join us live, and this will be posted to YouTube, so feel free to review it later. And thanks for joining, and have a great day.